The Midnight Selkie, Chapter 8. Raleigh shot awake, gasping as he escaped his nightmare. He suddenly felt a panic well up in him, and he checked his sheets. Whew, they were still dry. Well, that was a relief. He'd been managing to maintain a dry bed since shortly after starting the dolphin therapy. It would be horrible for him to start back up now. He crawled out of bed and quickly dressed. Down to the kitchen he went, but something was amiss. No song rang through the house. In fact, neither did the smell of breakfast. Malcolm was sitting in his usual spot, reading his paper. Instead of bacon and eggs, he had a simple bowl of cold cereal. "Dad? Where's Mom?" "She's still asleep. She's on the couch. She's awfully grouchy, so don't wake her up." He peered up from his reading to make sure that Raleigh was paying attention. "Boy, are you wet in the bed again? You're dressed already." "No," Raleigh replied. "I just wanted to get dressed." "Why is Mom on the couch? Is she sick?" "Maybe." Raleigh frowned. So it seemed his parents were fighting. That would certainly up the tension in the house. Being silent and absent seemed like a terrific idea right about now. "Will we be going to see the dolphins tonight?" "There's supposed to be some party at the White Whale Tavern. Your mother may want you to go to work with her." Oh, I was hoping to swim some more." Malcolm grew a wide grin. "That's good to hear. Sounds like you're almost normal now." "That's good. Do you know how embarrassing it is to tell people that my son is afraid of something as stupid as water?" He let out an angry sigh. Raleigh's father never thought about the consequences of his words, or whom they could possibly hurt. It would do no good to blow up and argue with him. Malcolm and Raleigh were both rather stubborn individuals. It wouldn't make any difference anyway. "I'm going to school." "You didn't eat any breakfast." "I'll manage." "Huh," Malcolm replied in a rather indignant manner. "Breakfast is brain food. And you're skipping brain food. It's no wonder your grades aren't as good as they could be. You'd be making straight A's instead of B's, Mr. Average Underachiever." To that, Raleigh became inwardly furious. His father just never knew when to just shut up. With an agitated growl, he snatched up his backpack and stormed out of the house. His father was just stupid. Stupid! The dish room was hot and dank, but that was nothing unusual. Raleigh struggled to the back, waddling with a large, full dish bin in his arms. With a little effort and balance, he set it down and wiped his forehead. "Whew! I've got another one for you, Terry Beth." The young woman, wearing a tight bun, gave him a glance and wiped her forehead as well. "My goodness! Quite some muscle for a boy your age, isn't it? Sure is a busy night, huh?" "Yeah," he replied. "Open crowd and a party? It's chaos. I'm going to feel it tomorrow." "I think we all will feel a bit of this tomorrow," Terry Beth laughed. "I'm going back up front. But don't worry, in a bit I'll bring back another full bin of dishes," Raleigh announced. "Gee, thanks," she retorted with good-natured sarcasm. She let out a chuckle as he darted back out into the front. He stopped at a dividing wall which separated the restroom, hallway, and the front waitress station. He hesitated, hearing his mother in the middle of a conversation. He knew it was rather rude to eavesdrop, yet he already did so with patrons. He knew, though, his mother was not talking about a fish story. "He's so insensitive," Kiana muttered. "He never thinks before he speaks. Sarah, I'm warning you now. Don't ever get married." Sarah had to let out a laugh as she prepared a tray full of drinks. "All marriages are like that from time to time, aren't they?" She let out a sigh. "Yeah. But I just wish he'd loosen up. He doesn't understand. He's never had any problems. He's always had the perfect childhood. And I don't mean that lightly. He had a great family. He made terrific grades in school. He excelled at everything he did. He wanted for nothing. To put it simply, he had a pretty easy life. But he doesn't realize that most people do not share in such great fortune. He's rather degrading about it. She frowned as she placed a lemon on a water cup. Sometimes I think he's ashamed of me and Raleigh. It's like he just takes us for granted. Like everything else in his life. I thought a man with such luck and confidence would be a terrific partner. I suppose in some ways he is, but I sometimes wonder if I still like him very much anymore. It's just a rough spot, Kiana, Sarah smiled. Everything will work out. Until then, you just keep on smiling for Raleigh's sake. He already has enough to worry about. Raleigh frowned. He hesitated before forcing a smile onto his face, and he bounded past them with a new bin and into the lobby. Just as he made his way in, a table was vacating. "Thank you," he said with a bright smile. "I hope you enjoyed everything. Come again." They smiled back and gave him a small wave as they passed him. He set the bin down and began to clean the table. For a moment he paused, thinking that he had seen something fly out of the corner of his eye. Well, it was gone now. So back to work he went. Suddenly, though, he felt something doink him on the back of the head. Raleigh rubbed his head and investigated the carpet. Whatever had hit him would likely be on the floor now. Was that a crouton? Who in the world would be throwing croutons at him? Was it some unruly kid? He turned, puffing out his cheeks when he saw the culprit. "You! Can't you act your age?" At a table not far away, Admiral Knight Porter chewed on his empty pipe and chuckled wickedly. Even the old man had a bit of a youthful spunk still left within him. Raleigh marched over to him and crossed his arms. This only made Nye laugh harder. "Ooh, what you gonna do, boy? Gonna give me a whipping?" "You're impossible." "Rather busy night, isn't it?" "Extremely. Mom wanted me to help out around here, so no dolphins for me tonight." It's probably for the best, though. Dad's starting to get on everyone's nerves. "Fathers can get like that. My old man was tough on me, too. But you always be sure to respect your mama. She put a lot of work into you." "Well, I have no problems with my mom," Raleigh said. "She's wonderful." "That's good. That's very good." "Raleigh!" came a gruff call. He and I looked to see Captain Jim at the edge of the lobby. "That's my grandpa," Raleigh whispered. "Go to him, boy. Don't get the old crab cross with you." He gave a nod in reply. Then he began to trot over to the captain, giving him a sweet grandson smile. "Hi, Grandpa." "Getting bored, Raleigh?" "Not at all. Why?" "Don't go bothering the patrons. I don't mind if you listen in on their crazy fishtails, but don't be trying to nose in on them. And especially, do not bother the Admiral. He don't have time for no kids." This confused Raleigh a bit. "But Grandpa, I'm not bothering him. He called me over." "Don't worry, though. I won't get behind. Just leave everyone be. Stick to bussing tables. Don't let your mother down. She's counting on you to be her big helper." "Yes, sir." "Good boy." Captain Jim smiled, patting his grandson on the head. "How have them dolphins been treating you?" Raleigh beamed. He liked this topic much better. "It's great. They're real nice, and now I'm even learning to swim." "That's terrific, Raleigh. You'll be on a boat by this summer at this rate. It's much more exciting out there. Your old grandpa will teach you everything you need to know about navigating them waters. Now, back to work before you get too far behind. Hop to it!" Raleigh nodded and rushed back to the bin he had started, returning to the empty table. He gave a shrug in Nye's direction. The Admiral merely smirked and allowed Raleigh to continue his work in peace. Later that evening, Raleigh sat in a booth, head on the table. He dozed. A line of drool dribbled from the corner of his mouth. The busy crowd meant a late night, and he was exhausted. He twitched from time to time as he loosely dangled in the world of dreams. Abonai Porter downed one last shot and stood himself up. With Raleigh asleep, he figured the least he could do would be to carry his own glass to the dish window. He only got about halfway across the lobby before he came face to face with Captain Jim. "What are you up to, old man?" the captain asked.
"Ooh, listen to you, Captain James W. Morris."
Nye laughed.
"Is something bothering you?"
"What business does an old hermit like you have with a boy like Raleigh?"
"Hermit?"
he laughed, simply letting the words roll off his shoulder like water off a duck's back.
"Calm your dirty gutter head, Morris. There's nothing wrong with being polite and friendly."
"With the likes of you? Forgive me for being a little suspicious."
"Your suspicion is unfounded. You're just jealous and just happen to have nothing better to worry your pretty head about. So you target me, just as you always have, whelp."
"Jealous?" Captain Jim gasped.
"Of you? Don't play dumb. It's been like that for a long time between you and me, Captain Morris. Don't you go a-thinking that I don't know it. Don't take out your leftover whining on me, whelp. You're sore over the past, and it's unbecoming. I would have really thought and hoped that you'd have gotten tougher and wiser through the years. But even in old age, Captain, you haven't changed from your days as a boy."
Captain Jim huffed and puffed a few times as he turned a shade of purple. "You think that because you've always held a higher rank that you can dominate anyone you see with your less than charming personality, you scraggly old fart?
I don't do nothing of the sort. But if I'm to be the bigger man all the time, I suppose that makes me superior to you in more than one way, Captain. And that bothers you? Or is it that you just feel inferior and find me to be an easy release? After all, I've saved many a man from a sea full of sharks in frenzy. You couldn't even save your grandson beside the boat. So don't waste your time trying to play the one-up on me."
"You just stay away from Raleigh," Captain Jim warned. "His head has enough troublesome thoughts to sort out without you adding to the nonsense. He's my grandson, not yours." Abonai Porter gave a chuckle as Captain Jim about-faced.
"Are you truly worried about my yarns, Morris? Is it really nonsense? Or is it that you fear that your grandson will come to me and value my words in regards to his problems over you? By the sounds of things, your family is starting to fall apart and collapse upon itself. Seems to me your advice is not very credible when compared to mine."
Captain Jim spun around. "How dare you? This spouts from the mouth of a man who has no family?"
"Ha!" Nye rasped. "I'll have you know that my family stayed as together as possible until they died. But it wasn't due to division and divorce. Now, enough of this name-calling. Let's be big boys about it. Don't make the boy suffer for your problems. That would make you just as selfish now as you were back then. Raleigh was born to the sea, just as you were, and just as I. Who cares where he gets his fins? So long as he's able to wave them and swim, you should be content and proud. Don't get in his way. That boy has some bright destinies awaiting for him in his life. I aim to see him achieve a few. Perhaps if you stay close to him, Morris, you may just get a taste."